definitely about these three players and how exciting it is to introduce these three players to Toronto. I couldn't have picked three better players to start a franchise with. I'm lucky enough I get to know these athletes. I know them very well with a lot of experiences that we've been able to share over the years with Hockey Canada. I trust these three more than anything else. I hope that's returned. That's the word I'm looking for again. But I know that this group can lead a team to a championship. And, as much as they bring all different little aspects to their game and they're very unique in their own play, they all three have character, leadership, talent, and grit. And that to me is what our identity is going to be in Toronto. And we're thrilled to start our franchise with these three. So I couldn't be happier. Really looking forward to this upcoming season, and looking forward to you guys getting to know these three and how great of ambassadors they're going to be for not only Toronto, but this league. So,
Renata, please just tell us, first of all, congratulations, but just share a few words about what this moment means for you.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. This is so exciting. I couldn't think of a better franchise to be a part of than Toronto, and to be amongst Gina, Blayre, and Sarah is so exciting. Just that familiarity to begin with, but also just the excitement of how far we've come to get to this point, and to think how long it's taken to finally reach a time where we have this true professional league where we all get to play and sign with such a big market. I can't even believe we're finally here. I can't wait to see how our team gets put together. And there's no doubt in my mind that Toronto is going to be a great place to play. And with Gina, I know she'll build an incredible team, and just really looking forward to being a part of it. And it's obviously a huge honor and a very special moment for all of us.
Renata hails from nearby Burlington, Ontario, and also just down the road from Hamilton is Sarah Nurse. So suiting up for her near hometown team, I'm sure is special. But Sarah, perhaps a few words on that in your own words.
Yeah, I am pretty giddy right now. It's really surreal just to actually have everything announced. Going through the free agency process was totally completely different, and I couldn't be more grateful and honored and really humbled to be chosen to be one of the players signed in Toronto. Just to kind of echo what Renata said, it's such an incredible hockey market, and I can't wait to bring professional women's hockey here. They have such a strong girls organization presence with the OWHA, and so again, couldn't be more excited to be playing close to home and to make an impact on the ice, but also in the community as well.
Thank you, Sarah. And fellow forward Blayre Turnbull from Nova Scotia. Blayre, just your thoughts and excitement on today's big news.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like Renata, Sarah, and Gina all said, I think we've got the foundation to build a great franchise, and I'm super excited to see where we can take it. And I know sports in Toronto are huge, so I'm extremely honored to be a part of that market now. And I think to play alongside Renata and Sarah will be super fun and exciting, but to have Gina lead the way for us will be really special. So I think we're in great hands, and I can't wait to see where this franchise goes.
Thank you all. At this point, we will take your questions. Reminder for those that are new to our media availabilities, if you have a question, please raise your digital hand in the Zoom console. I'll call on you individually. At that time, ask you to unmute, and please introduce yourself, not only by name, but as well as share the media outlet that you are representing. It just helps us get to know one another in this women's hockey community. I'll start with our first question. We'll take from Kevin McGran, please.
Ladies, congratulations. I'm Kevin with the Toronto Star, and looking forward to covering your season starting in January. All three of you, as far as the players go, you're all in the CWHL. So I have a couple of questions along those lines. The big one, and I'd like all three of you to answer. I hope that's not too much to ask, but A, how much have you missed league play since the CWHL folded, and how much are you looking forward to being in a league as opposed to barnstorming the way you have the past couple of years? Sarah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess I look at our evolution with the PWHPA and the fact that we were able to travel around to so many different markets throughout North America. And it was such a unique experience and something that really hasn't been done very often in professional sports. And so I think that had a huge benefit to really getting out our message and spreading women's hockey around North America to really markets that don't usually get it. I remember being in Halifax last year, and it's such an incredible market, but they don't usually get the big professional sports. And so being able to touch that community was super special. But in regards to CWHL, I was able to play 1 year with the Toronto Furies, and I miss home games for sure. I miss being in front of our fans, our crowd, having that routine on game day. And so I'm so excited to get back to that. I know it's going to be incredibly special building a fan base here in Toronto. And so I'm definitely excited to get back to that.
Thank you. Renata?
Yeah, it's funny. Today I was driving in the car and I was thinking like, oh, what's going to be one of the most exciting things about this new league and playing for Toronto? And I was like, you know what it is? It's playing for a city again, because we've missed out on that opportunity for the last 4 years. And like Sarah mentioned, it was incredible to be able to travel around North America and bring our game to markets that don't often get it. But at the same time, it's really special to represent a city and to feel like you have like a fan base behind you. You have consistency with your teammates. You get to practice with them on a daily basis, and you can really become the best player that you possibly can be because you're playing with a group of people consistently. So yeah, I miss those days of playing for a city, and that's one of the main things I'm really looking forward to.
Blayre, do you have anything to add?
I'm not going to add anything new, I don't think, but I'll just echo what Sarah and Renata both said. I think the last couple years, although it has been challenging at times, it's been a huge benefit to our sport to be able to showcase our skill and games in different areas. But at the same time, it's been really hard not to have the consistency with practicing with a team, practicing under the same coach, where you get to practice systems, power play, forecheck, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that, to creating a really great daily training environment, and just creating that team atmosphere and bond that we've missed out on for the past couple of seasons.
And Paul, if you don't mind, ask them one more sort of related to the same topic. Blayre, will start with you, and so that they can add to your answer. But where do you think this league will succeed, and that the CWHL couldn't? What's different as far as you can see?
I think the infrastructure is designed for success. So in the past, I don't think we've had that, which is why we haven't had successful leagues. But I think one thing that everybody's sure of now is that this league will succeed because we have the infrastructure and the people in place to make sure that happens.
Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, a big thing is just the time is different. I think when the CWHL existed, there wasn't a heavy emphasis and there wasn't really a value on women's sports as it is now. And I think we've seen this real emergence and surge of women, not only us recognizing our value, but other people recognizing how vital we are to the sports ecosystem. And so I think the time is just different, and people have talked about how this should have been done years ago, but I really do believe that the timing is perfect now, and I'm very excited to get things going.
Renata, how about you?
Yeah, Blayre and Sarah really hit some important points there. I also think that the work we've done in the last 4 years with the PWHPA in the women's game has also brought a lot of attention to what we're building towards. And I think that that's going to add to the success of the league, is to know what we've gone through to get to this point. And just one other thing to add is I think there's a lot more visibility in women's sports, which is going to allow our game to succeed. So that's something that's we're going to really gain from that.
Gina, would you like to say anything about that? About why this league will be so much more better?
No, I think they all hit on all the points. I admire how well spoken our athletes are. So I'm really proud of how they see this league and how they see it from different angles. And I think their perspective is spot on. So
thank you all. Cheers.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll take our next question from Sarah Jordan, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jordan. I'm with the news in New Glasgow, represented with Saltwire, Blayre's hometown, actually. So I guess my first question is for Blayre. How does it feel now, having all that you've accomplished and all that you've done to be here and to be part of this new league? Especially like thinking back to when you were, playing for the Nighthawks in high school. Like, did you ever think this is something you would be doing?
No. When I think back to my childhood goals as a hockey player, it was to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm super excited that now little girls can dream to play in the PWHL. I think that is one of, if not the coolest thing about us being a part of this league, is that we now give little girls mentors to look up to and dreams that they can actually achieve. So I think my younger self would be in awe of this moment, and without obviously the support of my family, my former coaches, and all my mentors, I wouldn't be in this position. So I owe them a lot of credit for getting me to this point.
Awesome. And just my other question is if there's anything you want to say to the people back home here in Pictou County about what you're doing and about the league, what would you want them to know?
Well, first, I think I hope nobody's worried that I'm going to turn into a city girl with me moving to Toronto now. Although I am really excited, I think deep down I'll always be a small town Stellarton girl where 4,000 people in my hometown is what's comfortable for me. So I am really excited about the move and the opportunity. And I know that everybody from back home has supported me so much throughout my hockey career, especially over the past few years. And I know that support will continue and it'll grow. So I'm really proud and honored to not only represent myself and my family, but to represent everybody from back home.
Awesome. Thank you. We're all proud of you out here in Pictou County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for the question. We'll take the next ones from Melissa, followed by Elias.
Hi, Melissa Burgess from the Victory Press. A couple questions first, just for Gina. So now that you have, your first 3 players locked up, what are your priorities or what are your thoughts heading into the draft for what you're going to look to do with your first pick or your first few picks?
Yeah, I know. I think a little bit of a research right now, obviously on what's available, getting to know those athletes. I know the Canadian athletes really well, but I do want to do my research on international athletes and Americans as well, just on personality. Would they fit this group? Would they fit this identity? Where do they value culture? What's important to them, so that it's a really good fit. It's really important that we look out, obviously, at filling this roster and piecing together the puzzle that we need to be successful. But part of that puzzle, it is personality. Will they be able to come in and follow these 3, which are great leaders? But I want to make sure that we're, providing these 3 with athletes that fit into that culture. That I know that these 3 will be able to lead. So there's a little bit of research to be done, and then we'll have a little bit of a strategy going into draft. And I have no doubt that we'll be asking these 3's opinion on athletes as well, as they're going to be part of building this franchise with us.
I know we've asked other GMs, so I'm going to ask you as well. Do you have any update on, how close you are to head coach?
We're very, very close. So we've got a contract on hand, and we are about to offer the position. So really excited to name that person when that contract is signed. And I know the athletes will be very excited to see who that person is. And I have no doubt that the identity of these athletes will fit very well with this particular coach.
And then just for any of the players, really, did any of you, know about the other 2 signing when you chose to sign in Toronto? Were you kind of talking about it, or was it really you found out, after you decided to sign there? And what really stood out about Toronto over maybe other teams that made you offers? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Don't all talk at the same time, guys. I know you guys can talk.
Actually, Blayre texted me in the morning and said, "I just signed with Toronto, LOL." So that was kind of a fun text to get. And I had also heard about Renata, and so at that point, like I knew that that was going to be a franchise to be reckoned with. And so I personally texted my agent and said, so can we get a deal in Toronto done? I knew that Gina, after speaking with her, was obviously building a franchise with an incredible culture. And I knew that Toronto was going to be a very sought after franchise. And so I figured that if I could, get in with the Toronto girls, it would be a pretty good situation for me. And so I couldn't have been happier to be able to join these three.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, Elias and then Haley, please.
Hey guys, Elias Lorati, freelance journalist from Montreal. How are you? Gina, I know I asked you this last week, but maybe you players can touch on it. How hard do you think it's going to be playing in a city as competitive as Toronto, where you have the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Blue Jays? Maybe we talk that level of competitiveness, trying to get people, who are usually basketball fans, hockey fans, to really come to watch you guys play. Either one of you.
There are obviously a lot of very well-established franchises here in Toronto, but it really does lack a women's professional franchise. And I think if there's anything to be said about Toronto, when the WNBA came to play here this past spring, sold out game, there was a buzz, the city was electric for the entire week leading up to that. And so if that says anything about where women's sports is in Toronto, I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. And so I definitely think that we're going to fill a void that desperately needs to be filled in the city.
Renata, if you touch on it.
Yeah, just going off of that, the WNBA game was obviously such an exciting game to have in Toronto, and to see it sell out so quick was exciting. But I also think that it's on us as a franchise to do work in the community to get fans to know who we are, know when we're playing, and really build that connection with the community, so we get more people to follow along and come out to our games. So it's also responsibilities on us as well.
Blayre?
Yeah, same thoughts as Renata and Sarah. I think some people could see it as a challenge, with obviously the Leafs and Raptors and Blue Jays and all the other sports teams being in Toronto and having established franchise fan bases. But I think we see this as an opportunity to see where we can take this franchise. And I think that comes with our involvement in the community and the on-ice product that we're going to be producing and showing off. So I'm really excited about where this can go, and to see how many fans we can fill our arena with.
And Sarah, if I can just ask you a quick one. It was said during the negotiation process you had different offers from different teams. Was it hard for you to really say no to those other teams that were reaching out to you?
It was funny because this free agency period was something completely new. It's something that we had never, ever experienced before. And so I really did want to lean into that process. And I was really curious. I kind of wanted to see visions and pictures and imagine what franchises would be like in different areas. But at the end of the day, Toronto was already always on the top of my priority list. And again, as I've already spoken to, when I was able to speak to Gina and hear her vision, her plans, and what she wanted to put in place, I was like, so can I be on the team too? Can I play? I'd really love to be a part of this. And so I have no doubt that what we're building here is going to be something pretty special. And so for me, being able to play in Toronto was a no-brainer and the perfect opportunity.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today, guys. Congratulations.
So let's go Haley and then Elaine, please.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, guys. Haley Salvian from The Athletic. Congrats to everyone on the announcements today. I have a question for Gina. Blayre Turnbull's been described to me by teammates as like every coach's dream. Would that be true for a general manager as well? Sorry to do this in front of Blayre.
Yeah.
Like, if you can,
I
don't know. I'm sorry.
100%. I would also claim all three of them in that category. I think, I don't want to single out Blayre, but Blayre definitely fits that criteria. There's certain athletes that give you what you want on the ice. They're consistent. They give you that effort. You know what you're going to get. They're constantly striving to be better. They've got a growth mindset. But the people don't necessarily see what they do behind the scenes and what they do in a locker room and what they do to ensure that they connect with their teammates and that they build a space where everyone can be themselves and feel authentic and just be able to perform at their best. And these three do that. And that's what I think my advantage as a GM coming into this league was, that I know our athletes in and out, and I know who can build teams and who brings that extra element that maybe other GMs didn't know about. And these three do that. So I think that's what's really exciting, is that we have incredible athletes, the best in the world on this screen right now. But the thing that you don't see is the other stuff that they do that is just absolutely remarkable. So that's what excites me. And all three of these athletes bring that, including Blayre. So just make sure that her head doesn't swell up too big. But really proud of all three of these athletes.
Thanks, Gina.
Hi, Elaine Shercliffe from Full Press Hockey. My question is for Blayre, Sarah, and Renata. So this league has created so much buzz that there are a lot of new fans that maybe have not seen you guys play even on the international stage. If in your own words, you could take the time to kind of say what you feel like your like a skill you have that you pride yourself on and sets you apart from the rest of the pack.
Blayre, you want to go first? Go Blayre, Sarah, Renata.
Sure. I can start. So I think my on-ice identity and what people see when they watch me play is a complete player. So someone that plays in all areas of the ice. So that's the D zone, the neutral zone, and then of course the offensive zone. But I pride my game on my habits. So the D zone always comes first for me, and making sure that I'm playing very responsibly. But I think from that can come a lot of offensive opportunities. So that's why I consider myself a complete 200-foot player.
Was I next?
Yep,
I can go
Sarah.
next.
Thanks, Blayre. Sarah, and then Renata. I think Elaine wants to the same response, or your response to the same question.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I'd say that my on-ice style, when you watch me play, would be the biggest factor would be reliable. I take pride in being consistent every game that I play, being really hard to play against, kind of that aggressive in your face style of defense. And like Blayre said, I take pride in the defensive side of the game first, and then contribute offensively when I can.
I think for myself, I take a lot of pride in being a pretty versatile player. When I think back to like our last Olympic year, I think I almost played with every single forward that was on our roster. And so for me, I may not be the best at one thing, but I think that I'm really good at a bunch of different things. And so I definitely take pride in being a player that if a coach looks down the bench and needs somebody to go out on a PK, go out on a D-zone face-off, or go out on a power play, I could be one of those options.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Carissa, then Jared, please.
Thanks, Paul. Congratulations to all of you. Super exciting news. Just wondering, I'm really interested in, sort of the behind the scenes of the free agency process and your sort of foray into that. So I'm curious what surprised each of you the most about that process.
Sarah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I could. I think how quickly everything progressed, actually. Obviously, 10-day period, but I think that calls and conversations and chats were happening like pretty much 24 hours straight the first day and the next day as well. And so I thought it maybe would be a couple-day process, but things actually seemed to happen pretty quickly. So that was definitely what surprised me.
Out of your thoughts, and then perhaps Blayre, if Carissa, you wanted all three to respond.
Yeah, I'd have to say the exact same thing as Sarah. The process was so quick. Heading into it, I think a lot of us didn't know what to expect because free agency is so new in the women's game. And with that 10-day period, I wasn't sure if players were going to be signing quickly or going to be waiting it out and playing their options. But I think as soon as some signings happened, it kind of was just like a race, and it just started to go really quick. So although I'd say a lot of us tried to like lean into the process and listen to GMs and enjoy the process, it also was it was fast paced and a little bit stressful.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts as them. It was really cool to be a part of, though, because I think it's something that is so foreign for us to be a part of something like a free agency where you completely have to separate the personal from the business, and you have to almost put yourself first, which is something that we're generally not used to doing. So it was interesting in that, feeling so many different emotions throughout the days leading up to now, and when everything was announced, it was a whirlwind of feelings and thoughts, but it was super exciting. And as soon as I signed in Toronto and sealed the deal, I realized how truly special this opportunity is. And for me to have the chance to be one of the ladies who got to sign early is so special and something that I'm extremely proud of.
That's great. And just a quick follow up for Blayre. So you're moving east from Calgary. It's not the Maritimes, but you're getting closer to it. So I'm just curious, that process as you're choosing a location off ice, what went through your mind, whether it's facilities or like what was that decision-making process like for you?
So I'll be honest, leading into Friday, Toronto wasn't really on my radar for a city that I thought that I wanted to live in. But as soon as I spoke to Gina, I told her that if she needs another career change, that maybe she could get into car sales, because she sold me right away. As soon as I hung up the phone after our conversation, I had really strong thoughts about wanting to move to Toronto. So despite me being quite intimidated about the size of the city, I think the setup with our facilities are going to be amazing. And obviously, turning down a spot offered by Gina as a GM would have been a crazy thing for me to do. So I really don't think there's a better opportunity out there for me. So I'm extremely grateful and honored to be moving to the city of Toronto.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you. Jared and Ian, please.
Hi, Jared Book, Eyes on the Prize. My question's for Renata. I remember, in the early days of the PWHPA, talking to you outside one of the showcases, and you were saying that you're kind of tired of faking being a professional, and not having people not realize what the situation was for the players, not knowing where you're going to be, if there's going to be facilities for a game day routine. How important are those quality of life things that are in the CBA, in writing, public for everyone to see? How important is that as you step into this next chapter? And did you ever think that you were going to get to this point in those early days of the PWHPA?
In the early days of the PWHPA, I don't know. That was the early days were tough, but to think we've gotten here is so exciting. But like you mentioned, having that CBA in place is one of the most important things for us, and to have that and to know that we're looked after as players, from everything from our benefits to the resources that we have to the facilities we're playing in, really allows you to truly be a professional. And I think that's a big part of it, is having that collective bargaining agreement. So it's true, like we pretended like we were professionals before, and we weren't at all. And now I truly feel like we are. We've come a long way to get to this point, and there was a lot of hard work that went in to get here. But so thankful to finally feel like we can be professional athletes.
Thank you. And a quick follow-up for Sarah. I mean, what was it like to be in those CBA negotiations for you, and what was that process like?
It was a pretty crazy experience, crazy process. It was a lot of long hours, a lot of meetings, and really tough conversations. But I think obviously there are so many tangible things that have come out of the CBA, and so many people want to focus on salary and this and that. But like the little things to us really matter. And some of like my favorite things in the CBA are the fact that when we travel, if we're traveling by bus, we have separate transportation or a specific area for our hockey equipment, because there have been times where we literally travel with our hockey gear, our hockey sticks, like on our laps or in the aisles of buses. Having at our facilities, at our arenas, having proper locker rooms for the visiting team, because there have been times where we're changing in like the hallways or in lobbies or things like that. And so it's the little things that actually do add up and are very meaningful and really make it a true professional experience. And obviously I'm being very extreme with those examples, but there's so many things within our CBA that we're able to agree upon that make a huge difference in creating a professional atmosphere. And so I'm very happy with where we're at. And I know that when the next CPA is negotiated in 8 years, they'll be at a very good spot to negotiate even better for our players.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Go ahead, please. Ian, followed by Alex.
Hi, everyone. Ian Kennedy from the Hockey News. I just have one question for Gina, and I'm sorry if this has already been kind of answered, but you've got 3 amazing players, obviously, but the draft is coming up, and I'm just wondering if you can run us through what your focus will be on going into that draft, any positional items that you might be looking to target earlier on than not, or if you're just going to take the best player available, or what your strategy might be.
Yeah, well, I can't really share a strategy because I'm sure there's some GMs that are listening here, so I wouldn't want them to go against it. It's going to be a competitive game out there. I think the strategy is really to take a look at the landscape of the athletes, to get a better sense of who they are as human beings as well, and if they fit well with our program, our identity, to sit down with our head coach and to really assess what is the strategy and who would we want to go and target in the first few rounds, and then I think see what's available and making sure that we're piecing it together. I think the big piece to the puzzle here is definitely personality, and making sure that we're not just going after talent, but making sure that athlete wants to be in Toronto, wants to be a part of this, that they hear what our vision is and that they can fit that vision. I think that's really critical in building a championship team. I think too often we just think we can put the best players together and hope that you win and you're successful, and that's not how it works. Really getting a sense of who they are, and if they are the right fit, I think is really critical. So I'll be doing a lot of that work this weekend. Ahead of our training camp. We have a national team training camp next week, so we want to be not distracted by that. We want to focus on the national team next week. So I think this weekend will be a lot of calls to the athletes that I don't know necessarily, and get a feel and a sense if they can fit that vision, and then go from there and build a strategy on what the first few rounds look like and what we would like to target, and then see what's available. But I can't tell you all our secrets, because we obviously want to build the best team, and we don't want anyone to go against that. So
Fair enough. Congratulations, everyone, and thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Alex, you can go ahead, please.
Alex Azzi with the Messenger. Blayre, a minute ago you mentioned how Toronto wasn't a place that you immediately envisioned yourself until you got the sales pitch. It strikes me that in the past, female athletes, both in hockey but other leagues as well, have had to make the choice of where they play pro based on where their family lives, where their other job is. And I'm curious, for all 3 of you, was Toronto a decision that you were able to make like exclusively for hockey, or were there any other life factors that ended up drawing you to the city?
For me, the draw to Toronto was hockey and this franchise, and knowing and understanding what we can build. I think now that, like Renata said earlier, we are fully professional athletes. I think we put our professional athlete hat on and make the decision that's best for us as athletes, and one where we think that we can have an impact in the community, with the franchise, and obviously in the league as a whole. So that's why I chose Toronto.
Ada, did you want to go next and to Alex's question?
Yeah, I can echo Blayre there. My decision was also focused on hockey. I wanted to be in a market where I felt like I could develop as a player, and also be around people who are like-minded and can build a championship team. And I saw that instantly with Gina, and knowing Gina and the pieces of the puzzle that she is envisioning having in place. I know it was like the perfect setup for me, and it just so happened I'm from just down the QEW, and I actually am currently living right in the city, so it all works out in the end, but it was definitely a hockey decision for me.
Sarah, your perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, those two pretty much summed it up. I really looked at, I think, where we could have the biggest impact and the biggest splash for women's hockey. And I think that really working hard to build a franchise in Toronto is going to be really important for the growth of women's hockey. And so to have the opportunity to be a part of that was extremely, extremely exciting and really attractive. And then when I looked at what Gina said, that the franchise had to offer and how I could potentially develop as a player, it really excited me and was something that I couldn't say no to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. At this time, I see no more hands. However, we do have a few more minutes. If anyone has any follow-ups or any new questions are welcome in the remaining time. Elias, please.
Hey guys, Elias again. Sarah, what was the reaction from the family when they found out you signed in Toronto?
Oh man, everybody was so proud. I selfishly, my grandparents were like, we just get to come down the QEW to watch you play. But everybody was honestly just so proud. Obviously, seeing our journey as a collective PWHPA, as well as the girls who played in the PHF over the last few years. It's been a long one, and to finally get to this point where we have this league is extremely exciting, and they know how hard we've all worked for this. So my family couldn't be more proud and more excited.
Thank you, Sarah.
Evan, you can go ahead with follow-up.
Sure, thank you. Following up from a question that was asked earlier, I forget who asked it, but it was an interesting one that one of you touched on. You guys, hockey is such a team sport, and you are national team members, and you traveled with the association, the Players Association, looking out for each other. You've built this for each other. And then in this moment, this week, you had to represent yourselves, or your agent had to represent you. You had to put yourself first. You had to think of yourself first, which the men have been dealing with for decades, thinking of themselves first. This was really the first time you women had to think of yourselves first in what was best for you, whatever the contract details are in what city. How did that feel for each of you? It's kind of a monumental moment in its own way, but you actually had to live it. Renata, do you have a thought?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, that we were, doing all of this these last couple of years for each other, and then free agency came along, and it was kind of looking out for ourselves. And it was weird. It was a weird feeling, to be honest, to think of getting an offer and thinking how you can negotiate it. Like it was a little bit of a different experience, but also a fun experience to go through. And I think that's part of what made you feel like this was different than the other leagues, is that the process was being done right, that players are being distributed to teams in a way that it's going to be ultra competitive and really exciting. So although it was kind of weird, it felt different to be negotiating for yourself. It also was an exciting moment.
Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting dynamic, because obviously we all have friends and we all have very close teammates who were also part of the free agency period, and some of them did not sign with the franchise. And so it's kind of navigating those waters, because again, as Blayre mentioned, being business and taking personal out of it, it's very hard because we've gone to battle for one another for years and years and years. And I think for our group, that's like the best and the worst thing about us. We are loyal to our teammates to a fault. It's something that I realized, actually, like a stupid little story, but when we did Family Feud with the national team a few years ago, it's like we couldn't think for ourselves. We just wanted to share collectively with ideas and not go off on our own. But that was like one point that really highlighted it. And so it was definitely a different experience. But when you talk about draft integrity, as Renata said, it's super important because ultimately we want a league with distribution, we want integrity, and we want players in different markets dispersed so that we can have the most competitive and best product on the ice.
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, but can you expand on it?
I'm muted, sorry.
Sorry, Blayre, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm good. I think Renata and Sarah did a great job explaining kind of the background of it all, but just going through this experience and knowing that everybody else was also going through it, and maybe some people that you really love and care about weren't getting phone calls that they wanted to get, or they weren't having the same conversations that you were having. It was a bit hard to separate that at first, but after some conversations with some of my my mentors and my agent, I learned that these have been moments that we've been working towards and fighting for, and they're moments that we should be really proud of, and honored to be experiencing them. So I think once I thought of it that way and looked at it from that lens, I was able to separate a lot of the emotions I was feeling and transfer that into feeling really proud of myself for earning the right to have conversations with GMs and to eventually sign a contract with Toronto.
Gina, you had to navigate those waters as well. How was that for you?
It was very difficult. I knew it was going to be difficult to separate kind of the personal side of things and the business. I care tremendously about all of our athletes, you know, and I was talking mainly to our Canadian athletes on that day, just because I knew the chances and the odds of getting them in Toronto were larger. So that was a bit the strategy on day one, and knowing how many athletes wanted to be in Toronto and having to select these three was extremely difficult. But you know, I think Blayre said it perfectly well. Like the fight and what these athletes have done and athletes before them have done for years to get to this point. We deserve the integrity of actually doing it right. And the right way of doing it was wearing a GM hat that would say, how do I build the best possible franchise in Toronto? And these are the three that were clear in my mind that were the best possible foundation athletes I could sign. So it was difficult. It was difficult to say to other athletes that I cared tremendously about that we've signed our three, and they would have to find another franchise to sign with or go into the draft. But at the end of the day, that this is what we wanted. We wanted a professional league, and we have one right now, and we have a true one. And that's really exciting. But wearing the two hats is definitely a bit of a challenge. But you know, I think we're in a good spot right now, and people will land where they land, and I'm sure we'll be very happy with the franchise they land in, hopefully.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll take last one from Melissa, please.
Thanks, Paul. Just a point of clarification for Blayre. I know you got married earlier this summer. Congratulations. Just want to confirm the last name. Is it hyphenated? Is it one? Is it the other? What do you prefer? What are you going to have on the back of your jersey? Just so we can make sure you are referred to correctly.
I was considering changing the last name and maybe my number too, just to throw everybody off a bit, but I'm going to keep it with Turnbull and hopefully stick with number 40 as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Great participation and support of these athletes in the growing franchise in Toronto as they're establishing their footprint in the GTA is certainly appreciated for your coverage and questions this afternoon. Offer my congratulations and thanks once again to the Toronto franchise, General Manager Gina Kingsbury, and the first three players, Renata, Blayre, and Sarah. Congratulations on signing, and thank you for your time today. We'll hear from Toronto again on September 18th when Gina announces the second overall pick in the 2023 PWHL Draft.